The theme of my video is about the unrealistic beauty standards of the Philippines. Specifically, I want to talk about how one skin tone is more favored amongst the Filipino community. For much of my childhood, I remember feeling very ashamed of my dark skin. I remember feeling self-conscious because of how light-skinned both of my siblings were and how much I wanted to have a fair complexion. My parents often made me aware of how dark I've become every time I've either come home from swim practice or every time I've come home from being out in the sun. They would look me up and down and say, "Anak, ang itim mo na." They weren't ever too fond of my dark skin. Well, why is that? How does the ideal Filipino woman look like anyways? According to the Filipinos around me in my circle, the ideal Filipino woman is supposed to look like this.
For a standard Filipino beauty, they don't wear makeup. They're very simple to dress. They're fair complexion, black hair, fair complexion, black hair. They're not that tall. From short to, they range from 5 feet usually. And that's about it. The dress is simple. Before. It's been 30 years since I left Philippines, so.
The ideal Filipino, we are all mixed race. Some of us are from Spanish descent, Chinese, American, and Malay. So we all look different. There's not one description for a Filipino or a Filipina. So the idea of beauty for a Filipino really lies on somebody's eyes, lies on the eyes of the beholder. So some of us will be what we call kayumangi, dark-skinned, and some will be light-skinned with slanted eyes, depending on which descent you are from, and some who have from Spanish descent will be what they call mestiza or mestizo. But it goes with the tide. If you're going to ask about television, sometimes the one who's most popular at that time, the actress or actor, will be what everyone wants to look like. Hairstyle and whether the eyes are bigger or slanted. So that's what they're gonna try to look.
Do they have a specific?
If they're mestiza, they want somebody who have maybe lighter skin and taller, and the nose is higher, and then for somebody who's Chinese, Chinese descent, the ideal is somebody who's fair-skinned also, and almond eyes, and very, very smooth skin. And then for somebody who's kayumangki, they want the one that's really, really dark, with tall, fair skin and tall nose. It's really different for each Filipina because we all come from different descent.
Filipino looks like just simple, no makeup, long hair, nothing at all. And the way they dress, it should be like below the knee.
How does the ideal Filipino woman look like?
Very natural. They are loving and goes to church. People, they're good Catholics, most of them. Take care of their children, cook, even garden, do the gardening.
So, what are the beauty standards of the Philippines?
For me, I have to keep my, before I sleep, I take out all the makeup. So the skin won't be clogged. So I do that every night before I sleep. And for most Filipinos, because they're called kayumanging. The color, it's called kayumanging. Filipina, meaning not exactly brown. They have the color,
It's okay. The favoritism of lighter skin tone can also be seen through the extensive use and spending on skincare items such as papaya whitening soaps, papaya toners, whitening creams, face masks, etc. To me, it is honestly confusing that Filipinos tend to like whiter skin better than tanner or darker skin, considering that our people's ancestors, however, were people of color originally who were colonized by the white man and forced to live by the white man's rules. However, there shouldn't be a surprise that the last few Filipino women who won Miss Universe were lighter in complexion, despite many Filipino women being darker in complexion. According to Isabel Taylor Escoda, author of the article titled Imperialist Beauty Standards Rule in the Philippines, the fascination, even obsession with Western standards of beauty dates back to the former Western colonials, which relegated the indigenous population to a lower social stratum. Analysts of colonialism have pointed to the socio-cultural problems which arise from that. But in developing countries like the Philippines, mestizos tend to be admired. Escoda points out here that the Philippines' obsession with whiter skin can be traced back to colonial days, and that many problems involving socio-cultural issues stem from colonial days. Social media is also a problem when it comes to the Philippines' unrealistic beauty standards for young Filipino women. Most advertisements for clothing and skin products in the Philippines showcase whiter actors and actresses. This can be problematic for younger Filipino women who can't change how dark their skin naturally is, because it can make them self-conscious about their complexion and their overall looks. This can also be a problem because it can also add to the narrative that a fairer complexion is more beautiful than a darker complexion. However, this is just simply not true. This advertisement by Glutamax clearly demonstrates the negative views and connotations towards darker Filipinos. Here the Morena Filipino woman on the left is saying they're only white, but they already get to sit on the bus, and then unfair, right? Then the mestizo girl with the fair complexion on the right is plastered beside an ad for topical whitening cream that says, "Don't get mad, get Glutamax." And on top of her, it says 3 in 5 Filipinos believe that people with fair skin receive better treatment from others. This shows that whiter skin is so favored to the point that people with fair skin in the Philippines can say that they can get treated better than darker skinned Filipinos. This can be traced back all the way to the colonial times, where the Western society was seen as more proper and in this case more beautiful. This is also saying that people with a fair complexion are somehow more worthy than people with a darker complexion to receive good treatment from others. However, kindness shouldn't be only for people who look good and fit the beauty standards. It should go both ways and be for everyone in the Philippines. Here are some more examples of advertisements that capitalize on the idea that a fairer complexion is more beautiful than a darker natural complexion for a Filipina.
I love white. White is clean. White is pure. White is beautiful. Moss Beauty makes my skin whiter, healthier, younger looking. I'm at my most beautiful with Moss-Beauty Placenta White. Moss-Beauty whiter skin in 14 days.
For this Moss-Beauty advertisement, it was almost surprising hearing what the lady in the advertisement was saying, because if I were younger and listening to this advertisement, I would have more issues over self-confidence when it came to my skin complexion. When the lady was saying, "I love white. White is clean. White is pure. White is beautiful," it was almost as if she was brainwashing the intended audience to love white better than the alternatives, and also brainwashing the audience to think that white is even more beautiful than anything else. The undertone of this line is also basically saying that darker is less beautiful, less pure, and less clean somehow. I believe that this advertisement is very harmful for the self-esteem of the young Morena Filipina girls, because it's basically telling them to change their looks and erase their color, basically whiten out a piece of their identity in order to look more beautiful. However, this advertisement fails to consider that those young morena Filipina girls that they are trying to get to are already beautiful just the way they are. This next advertisement is for very popular papaya whitening soap that my mom actually tells me to use, even though I don't use it anyways.
Days. White plus papaya only takes a week. Helps make my skin so white. Make my skin so smooth. Palmolive Naturals White plus Papaya. May 100% natural orange papaya extracts para ang skin whiter at smoother feeling in 1 week. White plus Papaya. My skin so white. Para sa puting pangjosa. Palmolive Naturals White plus Papaya. Feel your skin and soul sing.
For this papaya advertisement, I feel it definitely adds to the narrative that fairer, whiter skin is superior in beauty than darker skin. It also makes the assumption that if you're a Filipino woman with whiter, smoother skin, that you can also find a significant other. This is problematic because it's encouraging young girls to change themselves quickly, since they repeat that the soap only takes a week to whiten skin in order to get themselves a boy, even though skin color shouldn't be the sole reason for being with someone. This advertisement, along with thousands more whitening advertisements, all add to the stereotype that whiter skin is superior to darker skin. This was my one experience with skin whitening when I was younger and had discoloration on my tanned face. I remember when I was younger and I got home from swim practice one day. I haven't even gotten to wash off the chlorine on my fairly sensitive skin, and my mom told me that she wanted to try to get rid of my discoloration spots. Basically, my face back then had discoloration because of how it reacted to the sun and chlorine. Bits of my face were whiter in complexion than the rest of my face. What my mom did to try to even out the skin on my face was get garlic and rub it on my face. As she tried to whiten it with this technique though, my skin was really burning. I noticed the subtle change in complexion, but it wasn't really much. And my face burned for a bit after my mom rubbed the garlic on my face. It didn't even out my skin complexion on my face either. After this experience when I was younger, I realized that I didn't want to get rid of the color of my skin and that I would much rather accept my darker complexion. As I grew older, I realized that I'm grateful for accepting how I look and for not changing my skin complexion. I grew to love my color and became even more prideful for my color the more I learned about my own Filipino culture. This tweet by a famous Filipino woman by the name of Bianca Gonzalez presents an interesting insight to the skin whitening advertisements. She basically says that there's no problem with people who want to have their skin whitened. The problem is when the companies make morena Filipinas like her look poor because they have darker skin. Then she goes on to say, because we are not poor, our color is beautiful. For the most part, I agree with Miss Gonzalez because the advertisements do make morenas look and seem almost inferior to people with fairer skin complexions. I also definitely agree that our darker color is beautiful and that we aren't poor or inferior to the whiter. Young morena Filipina girls should take pride in their color and should not feel ashamed because they are darker than the models they see on television. All in all, as Filipinos, we come from the islands whose people's ancestors were dark-skinned for thousands of years. It is beautiful to be dark, and I've learned to really embrace it through the later years of my life. Through my time in this Filipino Humanities class, I've learned to be truly prideful for my culture and my skin tone. I nor any Filipino morena should never be ashamed of our darker skin complexion, as we should be more accepting for our skin color. We should never try to become someone we're not, and we should never try to erase who we are through papaya soaps and topical whitening creams. True beauty for a Filipino woman is truly what's on the inside.
And for the standard beauty, actually it's not the old ways. It's your attitude, how you behave, being respectful to others. That's the beauty, what's inside you, not the outward appearance.